Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're taking a plunge into a world many of us dream about. Entrepreneurship. The allure of building something new, making an impact, maybe being your own boss.
That's the dream, right?
It is. But let's be honest, the journey often feels, well, like a minefield.
Yeah.
The Small Business Administration, they say nearly 30% of new businesses, they don't make it past year 2.
Wow. Yeah, that's a pretty stark statistic.
It really is.
And it just highlights why you need to go beyond that initial buzz, to really get the hidden truths.
Exactly what we're trying to do today. Our mission, it isn't just general advice. We've dug deep into a whole stack of sources.
Right.
We're talking seasoned entrepreneurs, people who've built and sold multiple companies, business experts, educational platforms.
A real mix.
Yeah, trying to pull out that counterintuitive wisdom, those practical shortcuts. Think of it like a fast track to being, well, properly informed. It's a different kind of learning than maybe a traditional business school.
That's a great point, because a lot of conventional business programs, they're good for established companies, sure, but they often miss the messy reality of a brand new venture.
They miss the real world stuff.
Exactly.
The nuances.
And those nuances are precisely what we're here to unpack. So what's on the agenda for this deep dive?
Well,
We'll get into the mindset of successful entrepreneurs, navigate the practical stuff starting, growing, look at key skills like selling, marketing, and maybe even planning for an exit.
yeah, it's the whole picture, isn't it? From that first spark of an idea all the way to, making it last or even ending that particular journey strategically.
Okay, so let's kick things off right there. The entrepreneurial mindset beyond traditional wisdom. You mentioned traditional education falls short. How is this mindset just so different?
Well, what's really interesting is how much standard business advice actually goes against what really successful entrepreneurs do. Big companies often say, stick to your knitting, focus on core competencies.
All right, stay in your lane. Exactly. But the truly, let's say, counter-conventional mindset, it's being willing to say, yes, we can, to things way outside your current strengths. It's this fundamental openness.
My first thought is, wow, that sounds risky. Just jumping into stuff you don't know. Can you give an example? Like, what does that actually look like?
Yeah, absolutely. Look at Arnold Correa, who built Atmo Digital in Brazil. He'd already reinvented his events business twice. Then a customer asks him something totally out there.
Okay.
Can you broadcast training via satellite to 260 stores and install ad screens? Arnold knew nothing about satellite tech. He didn't operate outside his city.
Wow.
But he saw the need, ignored the lack of experience, and just said, yes, we can do that. He basically reinvented his business again a fourth time just by grabbing these oddball requests.
That's a powerful story.
Yeah.
Seeing opportunity instead of a wall. And it leads right into this idea of problem-first logic. We see new versions of stuff all the time, new Tide, another Coke flavor. Is that innovation for an entrepreneur? Or is it something deeper?
No, not really. That's just, incremental change. Existing products getting tweaked. Real innovation for an entrepreneur. It's not about that. It's about focusing intensely on solving a real, often quite painful problem for someone.
The problem comes first.
The problem, not the product. That's where you start.
So find a very specific pain point.
Precisely. Think about Jonathan Thorne. He developed this silver nickel alloy. Why? Because he found this critical problem: surgical forceps sticking to tissue during operations.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he first thought plastic surgeons, but then discovered neurosurgeons. They had an even bigger, more catastrophic issue in brain and spine surgery. Forceps sticking there, disaster.
Right, high stakes.
Exactly. So by hyper-focusing on solving that specific high-stakes problem for neurosurgeons, he built an amazing business, sold it later to Stryker.
That really shows how building from a problem works. Okay, here's one that challenges, well, everything we're taught. Passion, purpose, and even the power of losing. Most people think entrepreneurship starts with some brilliant, totally original idea. Is that actually true? Or is there something else?
It's a huge misconception. Very common. Often, a business doesn't start with a eureka moment. It starts with a feeling, maybe an instinct to make a change, and crucially, a deep passion for what you do.
That passion is key.
It's your driving power because, look, you're going to pour so much time and energy into this.
Yeah.
One entrepreneur, completely obsessed with marketing, built a successful agency, fluid. There were 500 others doing similar stuff.
Right.
But his passion for the newest tech, like email marketing back then, let him innovate and win.
So it's less about a brand new idea, more about that intensity, that love for the subject and purpose. How does that fit in beyond just making money?
Purpose is. It's absolutely critical. It goes way beyond profit. If your business has a strong, clear purpose, you find yourself managing the purpose, not constantly managing the people.
Interesting distinction.
Everyone aligns to that shared goal. Think about Airbnb, their early days. They famously sold cereal boxes at conventions.
Cereal boxes. Seriously.
Yeah. It wasn't their core business, obviously, but it was this nimble, purpose-driven way to connect with people, start conversations, get some initial cash, all to fuel their main idea about unique travel experiences.
Selling cereal to fund a tech startup.
Okay.
That's definitely unconventional. And then there's this really provocative idea, learning how to lose. That just goes against everything.
It really does. And it's profound. Success often comes directly from accepting failure, learning from it. One entrepreneur lost £1 million on a comic book business.
Ouch.
Yeah. But he said his later massive success, it was entirely down to those learnings. He needed to learn how to fail. That's why you sometimes hear that saying, A students work for D students.
I've heard that.
Because A students, often too scared to lose, too scared to look less than perfect. And that fear, it holds you back from the risks you have to take in entrepreneurship. You've got to be willing to fall down, get up, keep going.
That's a complete paradigm shift.
Wow. And speaking of things out of our control, luck. Is it really just work harder, or can you actually hack it?
Yeah, that idea, the harder you work, the luckier you get. Well, it's often just a comforting lie, isn't it? If it were truly universal, every nurse working shifts around the clock would be a millionaire. No, luck is hackable, but it's through three things. Persistence, knowing clearly where you're going, and critically, taking risk.
Risk again.
Yep. Building a business is a marathon, not a sprint. You have to embrace fear, take those calculated risks. People who are moving, doing things, they create more surface area for luck to find them.
Okay, so if we've got that mindset, the risk, learning from loss, the purpose, how do we actually build something? Let's move into section 2. Starting your business from idea to launch. Where does someone really begin?
The very, very first step. Get ruthlessly clear on the skills you already have. Right now, skills someone would pay for today. You don't always need a new degree.
It's a brilliant shortcut. You can even use AI tools like ChatGPT to help figure this out. Both hard skills consulting, design, sales, and the softer ones, like being super organized or great at solving problems.
That's clever, yeah. Finding hidden value. And once you know those skills.
The real hack to get cash flow fast is pick an offer, not a business.
An offer, not a business. Explain that.
Focus on a specific problem-solving offer, like operations consulting for $1,500 a month, or an AI workflow setup service. This lets you get cash coming in right away.
So you bypass all the setup stuff.
Exactly. You bypass the immediate need for a website, logo, legal incorporation, all that stuff that can really bog you down in planning. You find people with a problem you can solve now.
That makes total sense. Direct route to revenue. But what about the planning? Don't you still need market research, a business plan?
Yeah, market research is definitely crucial right from the start. You need to confirm there's a real problem someone needs solved, identify customer needs, look at competitors, figure out your niche, your edge.
And the business plan.
A business plan is foundational, yeah.
Right.
Defines your vision, mission, goals. And often, you need it to get traditional funding.
But I've also heard people say rigid plans can be, well, a hindrance for startups. Too inflexible. Is there an alternative?
They absolutely can be. Too restrictive sometimes. So yeah, as a nimble alternative, think about a mind map.
A mind map.
Yeah, it's free, it's infinite. Start in the middle with your passion or hobby, then just branch out organically. Networks you need, brand ideas, apps, team needs. It helps you visualize growth fluidly. You're not locked into some 20-page document that's maybe outdated next week.
That flexibility sounds really appealing, especially early on. What about financial goals? How clear should this be?
Crystal clear. Set revenue targets. Maybe it's $100,000 in 12 months, or specific year-by-year goals for, say, 10 years. That clarity, it's not just motivating, it forces decisions.
Guides everything.
Right. And it helps attract top talent, too. People want to know the opportunity, the growth they can expect. Without a target, you're just kind of drifting.
Okay. Mindset, offer, plan. What about the real practical steps, actually launching? What are the absolute must-dos?
The real hack here is maybe focus on your daily burn rate.
Daily burn rate.
Yeah, figure out what costs you money every single day just to operate. Rent, payroll, marketing, that's your financial heartbeat. Manage that first, not some perfect sprawling budget.
Yep.
Beyond that, yeah, you need your checklist, physical space or digital, equipment, inventory. key partners, manufacturers, distributors, and plan how you'll take money, cash, credit, digital, and send invoices.
And the legal stuff, that always feels like a huge, intimidating hurdle.
It can feel that way, but often it's simpler than it looks initially. For most people starting out, the first big choice is usually LLC, limited liability company for simplicity and protection, or a corporation if you're really chasing big investor money.
Okay, so nail that choice first.
Nail that choice, then talk to an expert or use online resources. You usually need to register your business name with your state, like the Ohio Secretary of State. That gives you the right to use the name.
Right.
After that state registration, the next big step is typically getting an employer identification number, an EIN, from the IRS. And if you have employees, you'll need to register them too, get workers' comp.
That breaks it down nicely. And funding all this.
Yeah.
Without immediately needing debt or investors?
A great strategy is build up cash by starting while you're still employed. Profits won't be instant. But here's a powerful hack. Ask for the cash and ride the float.
Ask for the cash. How?
Think Tesla. They sold 100 Roadsters for $100,000 cash up front before production started. That's $10 million in hand instantly.
Wow.
Same with the Model 3 deposits. $500,000 deposits meant $500 million before they really ramped up making them. You generate working capital from customer excitement.
That's brilliant. Leveraging customer interest for capital. Huge insight.
It really is. And beyond that, embrace begging, borrowing assets, but not stealing. Leverage existing resources creatively. Go ape that treetop venture company in the UK. They literally borrowed trees, parking lots, even loose from the UK Forestry Commission. Built their whole business putting their kid on trees they didn't own.
No way.
Yeah. And this points to another core trait, just getting on with it, not always asking permission, especially if rules are fuzzy or haven't caught up with your idea yet.
Like Uber starting in San Francisco without asking the taxi regulators first.
Exactly like that. Now, while some of Uber's early moves later raised ethical questions, that underlying principle, moving forward, creating solutions when the rules haven't caught up, that is a key entrepreneurial trait. You often have to make the path, not wait for it.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so you've launched. How do you keep it going? How do you grow? Let's talk section 3. Growth strategy, scaling, funding, marketing. You mentioned holding on to cash earlier. What's the philosophy there once you were earning?
Yeah, this is crucial. Do not spend the first $100,000 you earn. Biggest mistake.
Really? Well,
treat cash like a weapon, not a reward. Keep it liquid. It gives you options, leverage for powerful future investments. I remember one entrepreneur deeply regretted buying a luxury bag with early earnings instead of taking a $15,000 investment opportunity that later exploded.
Oof, that Louis Vuitton bag story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that probably hits home for some people.
Right. It's about proving you can sell, then reinvesting strategically in growth, not consumption.
Okay, so if you're holding on to that initial cash, how do you get external funding when you need to scale up? What are the options beyond that first 100K?
There are quite a few, each different. Family and friends often works because of trust, but you have to be clear. They could lose their money.
Right, manage expectations.
Definitely. A smart move. Get key team members to invest. Aligns their success with the company's. Maybe lower salary initially, but they get equity.
Okay.
For angel investors, here's the counterintuitive bit. Ask for help, not money.
Ask for help.
Yeah. Angels want to feel valuable, contribute expertise, so create that FOMO, fear of missing out. Make them feel they're joining something special, not just writing a check.
That's clever, making them part of the story. What about the bigger players, VCs?
Venture capitalists, VCs, they usually come in later. For proven businesses needing serious cash to scale fast, if you approach them. Research their specific investment areas, and try hard to get introductions from companies they've already backed.
Use their network.
Exactly. And here's an often missed one, client or brand partners. Your existing clients might actually fund your expansion if it helps them. One agency owner had a major client pay to open a Middle East office because the client needed them there.
Wow, that's resourceful.
And then, of course, crowdfunding. Powerful modern tool. You can pre-sell products like on Indiegogo, raise cash without giving up equity, or use equity crowdfunding models.
Lots of avenues then.
Yep.
Linking us back. The equity, how does it actually work for control? It's not just owning over 50%, is it?
No, that's a really common myth. Control. That's mostly down to shareholder agreements, not just the percentage. For co-founders, 50-50 is often good psychologically, avoids imbalance, but you absolutely need a third party or an advisory board to break ties.
Okay, a tiebreaker mechanism.
Essential. Also, align your brand values with who owns equity, and understand share classes like share options, which is the right to buy later, versus actual physical equity, earning it now, and the SAFE agreement. Simple agreement for future equity. That's a neat tool for early investment without needing a valuation right away.
That clears up a lot about equity. Okay, another crucial growth area, marketing and brand building. We hear, sell the sizzle, not the steak. What does that really mean for an entrepreneur?
It means focus on the experience, the outcome. What transformation does your product deliver? Not just the specs. Steve Jobs was the master.
Right. Apple, yeah.
He wasn't selling processor speed. He was selling creativity, connection, being a game changer. It's about the feeling, the identity.
That's a great way to put it. So what's the best sales process then, if it's not just listing features?
It's a powerful 3-step thing. 1, truly understand, does the customer need this? Don't waste time if it's not a fit.
Okay, qualify them.
2, genuinely like the customer, and they need to like you. That real human connection. It's key. If they're rude or you just don't click, walk away.
Really? Walk away from a sale.
Absolutely. If you nail those first 2 steps, the deal, it just kind of naturally follows. And remember, it's a long game. One entrepreneur chased clients for 9 years, building relationships, not pushing, authenticity, persistence, way better than aggressive tactics.
This is fascinating. Less about hard selling, more about connection. How does that build a strong brand then?
Well, a brand is way more than a logo, right? It's the purpose, the essence, the promise. Nike. It's about athletes, performance, Apple. Creativity, pushing limits, a good place to start building your company brand. Figure out your personal brand values first, then translate those.
Understand yourself to define the business. And marketing itself, is it a rigid plan or more fluid?
Always approach it as an experiment, always. Know your customer intimately, focus on a niche like Facebook did starting just in universities. They knew that audience.
For targeted.
And built features like relationship status that became their marketing. But it's also about doing unique stuff, even kind of crazy things to get noticed. Generate buzz. Some people call it the staircase philosophy.
The staircase philosophy. Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Okay, picture this. An entrepreneur buys a random staircase that was for sale in London for £26,000. Seems nuts, right?
Yeah.
But he turned it into millions in free media coverage just by asking, why would someone sell a staircase? Then he added a dream doorbell, invited people to press it, share their dreams for exposure.
A dream doorbell.
Yeah. Led to even more PR. Partnerships with big brands like Ring Doorbell owned by Amazon. It just shows how being playful, provocative, pushing the envelope, it can create amazing, unique marketing.
That's absolutely wild and brilliant. What about the day-to-day marketing grind? How do you make it efficient?
Build systems, like take one core video, edit it smartly for different social platforms. Don't try to make unique stuff for every single channel from scratch.
Repurpose content.
Exactly. And marketing should be fun. Leverage what you enjoy. Love writing. Focus on email. Great on camera. Lean into video. Think about Starbucks early on.
What'd they do?
Their marketing was partly those carefully chosen locations, even if they lost money initially, and how they treated staff, calling them partners, that strong internal culture. It created an amazing customer experience. That was their best marketing.
So the internal culture is the external marketing. Got it. Any quick PR hacks people can use?
Be super targeted. Local media for local news. Industry outlets for niche stuff. Make journalists' lives easy. Pre-write good story angles, catchy headlines, provide high-res photos.
Help them do their job.
Right, and engage with them on places like Twitter. They often read comments. But crucially, remember the business owner. You are the #1 PR engine. Your public persona matters. Be disciplined. Your face is the brand.
That's a big responsibility. Okay, one last counterintuitive growth point. Promote your product before it's ready. Feels risky. What if it flops?
It creates momentum. Invaluable momentum. It can bring in early cash from pre-orders, and most importantly, it lets you pivot based on real market feedback.
So you learn before you overinvest.
Exactly. Prevents that trap of over-planning, launching too late, people waiting for perfect, often never launch. The successful ones promote early, learn from raw feedback, iterate fast, let the market guide you. Be agile.
Don't wait for perfection. Makes sense. Okay, final section. Building a sustainable business culture, people, and exit. How do you build a strong team, a resilient culture that really lasts?
Can't overstate this. Hire for purpose. When your team truly believes in the mission, that shared why, management becomes about guiding that purpose, not constantly chasing people.
And check they really mean it.
Oh yeah, check social media, references, gauge that true alignment. Some people just say the right things.
Good tip. And financially aligning them. Giving equity, is that always the answer?
It's one of the most powerful tools you have. Giving equity to staff, champion that idea. It aligns their long-term success with the companies, builds huge loyalty, cuts turnover, reduces your management stress.
Sounds like a win-win.
It really can be. It just makes sure everyone understands the difference, between share options, the right to buy later, and actual physical equity owning it now impacts their real benefit.
Got it. So generosity pays off.
Yeah.
Beyond individuals, what about that overall culture?
A strong culture needs to protect employees, align values, not just chase profit. Remember that agency that shifted its values? To protect creative staff from demanding clients.
Yeah.
Seemed small, but it totally transformed their growth. Why? Because they put their people first, their well-being. Also, remember, you don't have to go it alone. Collaborate, join forces, leverage existing audiences.
Prioritizing well-being over pure profit. Powerful. What about mentorship? Is it finding that one guru?
Often, no. What people usually need isn't one formal mentor for life. It's an advisor or a coach, someone with specific knowledge or who provides accountability for a specific challenge.
How do you find those people?
Research their interests. Ask very specific questions. Never, ever just, will you be my mentor? Maybe reframe it. Ask them to join an advisory board, often for a small bit of equity. Get referrals. But the most powerful way.
What's that?
Give them value first. Help them solve something. Connect them to someone useful. Then ask for help.
Lead with value. Great networking advice generally.
Okay.
Operational resilience as you grow, especially thinking globally.
A few things. 1, streamline packaging. Balance looks with practicality for scaling. Fancy isn't always efficient.
Right.
2, explore digital products. Massively cuts inventory and packing hassle. Great for service businesses or busy solo founders. 3, as you grow, shift from being a generalist yourself to building systems where people can be specialists. Excel in specific areas.
Let others specialize.
And here's a really interesting one. Think globally from day one.
Really? From the start?
Going global spreads your risk. And paradoxically, it can actually make the business easier to run when it's larger, compared to a tiny local venture. More options, diverse markets, less vulnerable to one place's economy.
More scale, simpler risk profile. Counterintuitive. What about managing challenges, building momentum through tough times?
Consistency. It's vital for skills, for engaging your audience. Couple that with a big picture vision. That clear, inspiring goal keeps you going, helps you correct course. Also, set hard deadlines, ones that genuinely scare you.
I know that feeling. Being scared by a deadline, surprisingly effective.
It really is. Forces action, stops endless planning. You also need to moderate expectations, especially for launches. Learn to detach a bit from outcomes. Focus on learning from the data, the feedback, not dwelling on disappointment.
Detach and learn.
And maybe most critical, speed and momentum. Lack of speed kills momentum. Focus on small, fast wins. They stack up. Create that big momentum. Builds confidence, consistency. You're trying to hit that first $100K, right? That's the foundation. Speed gets you there.
Small wins build big mo. Love it. Okay, finally, the art of the exit. Sounds like the ultimate goal for many, but there's a secret to getting top value, isn't there?
There is, and it's totally counterintuitive. The secret to selling your business for maximum value, not wanting to sell it.
Not wanting to sell. How does that work?
It strengthens your negotiating position massively. Mark Cuban famously showed this with Yahoo, with Facebook. When you are genuinely invested long-term, building something you love, buyers are way more attracted. They pay a premium. They're buying your vision, not just your spreadsheets.
Fascinating paradox. So how do you actually sell when you decide it is time?
Various ways. You could partner strategically with a company that might eventually buy you. Build that relationship first, like that agency, Fluid, did before PricewaterhouseCoopers bought them. You can use specialized business brokers, but do your homework on them. Merging with a competitor is an option, but might get you less value than selling to someone who sees more synergy. Or you could do a management buyout. Your leadership team buys the business.
So be strategic, have options, but keep that deep purpose.
Precisely. And maybe the most powerful final thought is this. Do not build a business just to sell it. Build something you genuinely love. Infuse it with purpose. Solve a real problem. That's what attracts investors and buyers' most passion and long-term vision, not just a quick flip.
Wow. What an incredible journey we've covered today. From mindset and launching to scaling, funding, branding, and even thinking about a sustainable future or exit.
Yeah, entrepreneurship really is this dynamic journey, isn't it? Continuous learning, adapting, taking courageous action. It really boils down to purpose, persistence, seeing failure as learning, and strategically using these specific, often counterintuitive insights.
That's it for this deep dive. So thinking about all the unconventional ideas we've explored, embracing failure, maybe, or picking an offer not a business, or hacking ruck, what single insight really resonated with you? And how might applying just that one thing change how you tackle a challenge you're facing this week? Something to mull over.